Hi folks, this is a supplement video to the iPhone 3GS battery replacement video on YouTube, which was posted by High Tech Dad. It's not intended to replace that video, it's just going to answer a couple of little questions you might have as you go through the process, if you happen to be very cautious. I want to thank High Tech Dad for posting his video, because that gave me the confidence and knowledge to go ahead and do a battery replacement. Okay, just a few points. First thing that happens, as you saw in his video, when you remove the screen, there are 3 ribbon cables that are connected, and one of them is a little bit hard to figure out how the connector comes undone. Basically, this shows what the deal is. You just flip up that little latch with a sharp pointed object, and it'll look like that. And at that point, there's no force required to pull the cable out. Nothing to it. This one is overly simplistic, but it's important. What it's trying to point out is that all of the connectors are removed vertically from the board. If this is an edge picture of the board, all the connectors come off straight up. Now I'll point out that connector 5 is labeled with a little sticker with an arrow, and the arrow is not pointing at the connector, it's pointing off to the side of it. So you'll have to fool with it a little bit to figure out which is the correct connector. Okay. There are a bunch of screws that have to be removed, and as it's pointed out in the instructions from iFixit.com, there are 3 kinds. One, if you can see my drawing here, is a 2.3 millimeter screw that doesn't have threads all the way down the shaft. The other 2 are 2 different lengths, 2.3 and 2.9, and they both have full threads all the way in the screw. And so the thing to know is, as you're about to start removing screws, so you don't get them confused, this chart might help you. Don't even bother with this one. That's not relevant to the task at hand. But the partial thread screws are here, 5 places. Then the short full threads are these 2. And notice that when you take this screw off, you get a little clip that holds the camera in place. So there's an illustration of the orientation when you get ready to put it back in, if you might need to come back to this video for that. Then finally, the one long screw is hidden under the do not remove sticker right there at that point in the phone. Now the thing that had me worried, well, one thing that had me worried was, how do I get this thing back together? Basically, a 30-degree angle is about right. And one thing to remember is when you put it back in, there is a small black cubical object right there, and it's got a slot in it, and it looks like this board wants to fit in that slot. It does not go into the slot. It goes completely under the black cubical thing. It's just a little bit to the right of center as you're working on it. And here is the real reason I made this video. When I put my phone back together, it was acting like the battery was too thick. I couldn't get the screen to seat correctly because something was too thick in there, and I thought the only thing that had changed was the battery itself. Well, it turns out if you look over on the left side, inside with the board out, you're going to see 4 little I call them clips, I guess. 4 little pieces of metal, the purpose of which I believe is to give you a good ground connection, but they are out a little ways from the side, and they have a tendency to want to push the board in that direction. Well, what I had done was I bent this one, and I didn't realize that for a while. It took me a fine knife blade to get it unbent. But just be careful when you're putting this thing back together. Make sure that all 4 of those clips are clear of the board and show up above it. So there you have it, just a few points. Thanks again to the originator of the first video.